everyone. Welcome back.
This is Ed.
And this is Phoebe at Swinger University. Today we have two guest speakers for class today, Adam and Belle. They will be sharing how they started swinging, provide advice for the lifestyle, sharing changes they've seen over time, and divulging in some funny stories. Remember to subscribe to our podcast, email us questions, rate and review us on iTunes. Please welcome our special guests, Adam and Belle.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, Adam and Belle. How are you two?
Doing good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Thank you, Phoebe.
So this is our first interview, and we've got some questions lined up, and we have an idea how it's going to go, but it's going to be a little more free form than we usually do, which will be fun.
Yeah.
Like we've mentioned in some of our podcasts before, one of the first questions we always like to ask is, how did you get started in the lifestyle?
Well, how we got started is kind of funny. We were having dinner with some vanilla friends that the wife particularly doesn't like sex. So she would,
What?
imagine that. She would constantly beg us, well, the women in our friend group, jokingly, half-jokingly, please sleep with my husband. I'm just, I don't want to sleep with him. It's just too much of a chore. Okay,
wow.
Whatever. Yeah. And so they had dinner with us one night and said, did you know that in the town we live in, if there's a blue light, that means you're a swinger and you're available.
Oh. Not the garage door up 6 inches or...
The upside-down pineapple in the shopping cart, but the
shopping
blue light. Honey, can we put that on our shopping list? The blue
absolutely.
light?
Done.
All right. We'll get that on the list.
Yeah, so we immediately after that meal, and after they went home, and immediately got on the computer and started to figure out what that means. What does swinging mean? What does that mean to have a blue light that's on? And we were pretty hooked from the very few minutes we started.
Fun.
We'd always had sort of a relationship that we felt was a little bit beyond normal, at least with regard to our sexual relationship. Mm-hmm. So when someone suggested that there was even more that we could do about this, I think it immediately just piqued our interest.
Right.
Immediately.
Wow.
Fun.
Yeah. So we searched the internet
Yeah.
and didn't find any blue lights, but we found a couple websites, signed up, and within half hour, we were getting messages.
Wow. What? Now, you guys were in the local area here in
Yes.
Sacramento?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So jealous.
And amazingly enough, the first couple to contact us lived less than a half a mile away.
Oh,
Wow.
my God.
Well, there you go. You never know. Your neighbors just might be swingers.
And it's been a while, but I think that we met them the first night, or at least a night or two afterwards.
Yeah, a night or two after.
So it was very quick. Very quick.
Okay, did you okay, I may be getting ahead of myself, but did you full swap the first time?
No.
Okay.
So we went into this and we're like, okay, we're going to soft swap. We want to save,
Yeah.
that intercourse for each other.
Right.
And we realized that, that's not going to happen.
Well, that's no fun.
Yeah. So we changed, what we said on our profile and full swap. It didn't happen with them. We met another couple and, full swapped with them.
Right. Oh, my God, that's so fun. I love it. Okay, wait, so then what happened to the woman who wanted anyone to have sex with her husband?
She's still asking.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, that's not
goodness.
an enticing offer.
She's missing
Just
out.
the way
though.
that
She is.
you present that.
Yeah.
So, Ed, think about that from our perspective.
Right?
And our wives are going around town telling other women that they just simply do not like to have sex.
God,
No
it's
matter
terrible.
what the reason is, I don't think the male component of that comes off very well.
Right.
That somehow this poor woman's husband perhaps...
So bad or just, yeah. It's...
That's the conclusion that you would come to, which is
Right.
horrible.
It's
I feel
just
so
not a
bad
good
for him.
sales pitch.
Right.
Give that woman the O shot.
Or two.
Something.
Yeah.
Something.
She'll have a whole new perspective.
Wow.
All right.
So it sounds like you got started in full swap fairly soon, or...
Yes.
Matter of fact, I think that first couple we met was not a full swap couple. I think they were a soft swap couple all along, but we really weren't sophisticated enough to know really what even that meant at the time. We hadn't done enough research, or we really weren't hip to what all the right terminology was, so we weren't quite sure, and we were just going on with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... You walk into the room, you start playing around, have some fun, and what happens, happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
That happened to us too. We started off swapping soft, but then it quickly changed. And we were just with the right couple, and that communication that we had with each other, it just was seamless to just go there. And then we
Yeah,
went
just-
full swap.
Seems natural. It didn't seem like there was
Yeah.
too much effort to go there. It's just like, I
Why
don't know.
not?
Let's try it.
Let's
see what
try it.
happens.
And we'll do both. We're not one of those couples that are only full swap. We're open to anything because we've had great experiences with both. And we know that not everyone's on the same page. And since the orgasm isn't always the end result, according to our poll, a lot of people say it's the journey. We live that as well. So it's that sexy, fun, titillating, energetic experience.
I would agree. I know we haven't talked about how long we've been in lifestyle yet, but it's been long enough where I think our style has changed so much that we've almost go back to a no style, meaning that soft swap is great, full swap is great. A lot of other ways of participating in lifestyle is great too. We've just come to be open to nearly everything.
Yeah, I'd say that also.
So over that 10-year period, did you find yourself only soft or only full? Or was it always just flexible?
I'd say we were more full swap over the 10-year period, but if it didn't happen, if it was soft swap, that was fine too.
Was that mostly because of an experience that one partner wanted to have in regard to partners?
I'd say we led more off of what the other couple liked. If they were more soft swap, then that's what we would do.
Right. Right.
Our sexuality, maybe sexuality isn't the right word, the way we interact sexually has changed so much in the last 10 years also that's changed our play style also. I mean, we were just talking about it maybe even today or yesterday, how different our sex life is together now versus the way it was 10 years ago. You wouldn't recognize the couple. If we could take a snapshot 10 years and a snapshot today, the picture wouldn't be the same. Matter of fact, it would be so diverse that you would think that there was some cataclysmic of event that occurred. And maybe it is. Maybe being a part of lifestyle is what has occurred that has changed for us. And I think that has sort of dictated what our play style is. And I think we would sort of say that we're sort of open.
Right.
How did that change your sexual relationship? What areas did it enrich, or how else do you want to say that?
Well, and like you said, there's been a shift in your relationship, and maybe describe that a little bit. How have things changed?
Yeah.
You're more open now, so is it just that because the door cracked open a little bit and you saw a little bit more, and you're like, oh, this is kind of fun. What else can we explore?
It had less to do with the lifestyle and more of us understanding that we could experiment together to more openly enrich our sexual lives. So that's really it. It wasn't necessarily that the lifestyle changed us. Mm-hmm. We changed because we wanted to experience different things together.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm. And so we evolved. So the way that we have sex or make love today is much different than it was 10 years ago because we are more open now. I understand what she wants. She understands what I want more. And maybe that's a derivative of being in an open lifestyle where your sexuality can be discovered.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is here's 4 adults sitting here in a room having a conversation, an open conversation about their sexuality and, what turns them on and how they got started. And, that's the thing that we've found with the lifestyle is you interact with people who are just open to talking about sex, which of course just blows your mind wide open in terms of what else can we talk about? Like how does this affect how, we get done with this conversation, we go home, what kind of conversations are we going to be inspired to have? Mm-hmm. And so it's just this, that's kind of that, the door cracks open a little bit. And you realize that there's this whole wide world of sexuality that's available to you as a couple, and you start to explore it.
Right. I understand what Adam is saying in regard to the lifestyle, opening up that door and expanding how Ed and I interact. I've found more confidence. I've grown a larger sense of expression as far as what I like and how I speak to Ed with that regard. So we've learned more about each other's bodies and the way we play together because of being in the lifestyle. And that's exciting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, learning to ask what you want.
Right. How to ask for it. Not be afraid to ask for it.
Not to be afraid to say, I don't like that or more of that.
Right.
It's fantastic. Like our sex life's been amazing. It was great before, but now it's crazy.
We would agree. We would agree that it's amazing. And so the interesting counter to that is that when you look at potential play partners in the lifestyle, I'm a little apprehensive because I know how incredible it is here, and we've developed this style, and I apologize for using the same word, but this style amongst us. And so the fear, if fear is the right word, is how is that going to translate to someone else?
Right.
Because we've developed this very unique connection with each other. How do I go back 10 years and try to have some sort of physical interaction with somebody else that I know nothing about?
Right.
And knows nothing about me. And so the fear is, how do I turn the clock back a little bit and be more vanilla in the way
Right.
we would play. Vanilla's an interesting word to use there, but how do you change your approach to make it more acceptable to more people versus a very one-on-one relationship, if that makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. You start to think about what's the formula that I use to, or what's the formula that works for most people. Because you don't know what somebody's going to truly like in a one-night interaction.
Yeah, and I think that's been our biggest challenge too. Is anytime I've had new sexual partners, it takes a little while to kind of understand their rhythms or the right spots to touch them in order to pleasure them,
Right.
and that it's pretty hard to replicate that process in a single interaction with somebody
Yes. Yeah.
new. It takes a little bit of time to figure that stuff out.
Which is why that form of self-expression in that moment with other partners is really important for me so that I have a better experience. And I've heard other women say things like, don't touch my nipples, they're super sensitive. Okay, got it. My clit's very sensitive, don't use a strong tongue, or don't lick there, or lick here. I've heard other women say that. And so I started taking cues from that. But I didn't also know about all that until we got into the lifestyle, because I hadn't had a lot of oral experiences before I met Ed. And so Ed and I started in the lifestyle before we got married. So we're still figuring it out. Now we're in the lifestyle and figuring it out. So I'm like, I don't know what I like. Someone asked me what my fantasies were, and I'm like, I don't know what my fantasies are. I'm just figuring this out. There's like so much on my plate right now. I don't even know what my fantasies are. So I've found that asking for what I want, or kind of giving that other partner a clue in to what feels good and what doesn't feel good, helps immensely. And confidence is sexy. So it seems to be working. Yeah.
Right.
So to your point, there should almost be like a 2 or 3 date rule, right?
Right.
Yes.
Because the first one likely to not be very good.
Right.
And I
Yes.
chose those words carefully.
Right.
So maybe the partner deserves a second or a third chance. And then by number 3, you're like, okay, we tried this 3 times. Clearly, I'm not picking up on the clues. You're not banging me on the head with the clues hard enough. So something's not working out right. So we gave it a good college try.
Right.
And we'll just call it a day. We'll be friends going forward.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had that same experience where it's at least twice. You get benefit of the doubt on the first try, and then after that.
Yeah.
So then you guys, it seems like, have had this experience of synergy with another couple where you are able to find that sweet spot past date 3.
I don't think we've had the synergy with a couple.
No, it's the ongoing search
Gotcha.
for synergy.
Gotcha.
I think we're probably like a lot of lifestyle couples who would really like to find a small group. Maybe 4 couples, 5 couples,
Yeah, 6.
6, where
The more, the merrier.
That's right.
I'm right there with you.
where there could be some synergy, where it's a group that you see often, that you're comfortable with. That, I think, is what we're still in search for.
Right.
So the synergy where we can have play experiences over and over, and we know that they'll be successful, we haven't quite got there yet.
Right. Right.
we're looking too. We're
Yes.
in the same boat.
Yes, I agree. Interesting. This is so fascinating. I didn't know this all about y'all.
So, along those lines, have you run into other couples, because you've been in the lifestyle for a few years now, who are also still on that quest, that vision quest for that perfect match, that group? I mean, you haven't found the group, so it seems like everybody's still looking for this.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
think, there's still people who are looking. We've tried making a few groups, but somehow divorce, even worse, death, it breaks the group up, or everybody doesn't mesh
Right.
the right way. So I think it's just a hard thing to find. Even just in the vanilla world, finding friends that you like the wife, you like the husband, everybody likes each other and gets
Right.
along.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, relationships just between people is challenging. So then complicate it with sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be a tough one. Well, that's good. We're not any more lost than any of the other
good.
swingers
Thank
that are
goodness.
out there. And anyone who's listening to this, take comfort. It takes a while, and everybody's out there looking for it. So maybe we'll all connect one day. And
Yeah.
One day on some big white boat in the middle of an ocean, there'll just be a magical connection.
That's right. Next November,
Yeah.
we'll all be on the swinger cruise
Oh,
together.
yeah.
All right. So we've gotten some funny stories, but do you have any really funny stories or unusual stories? Something that just every time you think about it, you go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
So probably the top funny story for us is we were at a party. There was a couple that was very interested in us, but we weren't so much interested in them. So we were dodging them, ran across another couple. They were very nice, good looking, invited us back to the room. We get up to the room and she says, I hope you don't mind. I get a little wet. Yeah.
To which I thought, wow, that's wonderful. I'm so happy that with one kiss on her lips, I could make her that wet. That's amazing. Where's my star? Where's my gold star? I don't see my gold star anywhere. It's not quite what she meant.
No, not what she meant. We probably should have gotten a clue when she pulled out the puppy piddle pad and gave it a quick snap and laid it across the bed. And then things started happening, and then it was raining. And I did
No
not
one
bring
offered
my...
any goggles.
No, goggles, umbrella. No, nobody warned us about
Wetsuit.
that.
Oh, my God. That's awesome.
So,
Yeah, that can be a bit of a shock if you're not expecting it.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
And it was all good. We
Yeah.
worked it out. We knew where to have our face or not.
If I remember correctly, that couple was sort of into themselves also, right?
A
We
little
were
bit.
there, but we were part of their little fantasy.
Ah.
So at some point, we realized that if we disappeared, no one would notice that we weren't there. We satisfied what they needed, and that was another couple in a room, a little bit of soft and full swap, and then at some point it was like, well, we're done. You guys can go. To which we were happy to oblige.
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
We've been at parties where people won't leave our rooms.
Oh, how did you address that?
How did we dress that?
Did you start yawning, brushing your teeth?
Yeah.
If
Same
I remember correctly, the room had several couples in it, with one young lady who was a unicorn, and she sort of refused to leave. She thought she was part of the package. So while the room was kind of coagulating and everyone was just kind of waiting for her to disappear so that we could move on, that never occurred. So I think by 2:30 in the morning, I think people just started falling asleep, and that was hint enough. But by that time, everyone was ready for sleepy time.
Oh,
that's too bad.
yeah, that's unfortunate. We have not had that happen, but we have had other awkward group play situations happen where not everyone is gelling.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell the person in the room that this just isn't working.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to tell somebody else, especially when
They don't-
almost everybody's naked and
The hint.
the hint is just not coming.
I know.
All right. Do you have any advice for new swingers, or we'll start with that first?
So just be open to the experience in general. Don't go in with this preconceived notion like we all did. Our first party we went to, we thought, okay, we're going to walk in. There'll be all these pretty people. Everybody will be having sex everywhere. No, it wasn't how it happened.
Yeah, I would come on top of that and say you got to be open, but you also have to. You have to be open, but you also have to experience the lifestyle the way you want to experience it. Mm. I feel like a lot of folks come to a first party or a first dance, and it's not what they expect because they don't know what to expect.
Exactly.
Which is a great reason that this podcast even exists. This gives people the opportunity to know what may happen or what to think about might happen before they go to a dance or they go to a party, which is wonderful. But I think if they just go to the party and just accept what's happening and just be part of the process, that they'll have a much better time. Mm-hmm. It's all about getting out what you put in. If you go to a dance, sit in a corner at a table for 3 or 4 hours and never get up and talk to anybody or never dance or never make yourself available, you're going to get nothing out of the experience. Right. But if you reach out to people, chit-chat a little bit, just make yourself available, it'll be a much better experience.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's been one of our key pieces of advice is don't go in with expectations because you never know what's going to happen. It could be an off night or it could be an amazing night. Mm-hmm. And to not sit on the wall and be a wallflower, but go meet people. Because if you don't talk to people, nothing is ever going to happen because people aren't going to approach you. So you got to make things happen.
You got to have an open mind.
Yeah.
You know, this is a very, I'll use the word weird, but there's a better synonym. It's a very weird societal club or interaction that we're involved in. Even on its best day, it's difficult. So any normal day just makes it that much more difficult. So I think you have to have an open mind. If you go into the dance and you're saying, well, we're going to be soft swap only, that's great. That's a style that you've chosen and is probably the right one when you first start.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Ease into it a little bit. But if you continue on that path and never open yourself up to any other experiences, you may never discover what you like. Mm-hmm. You may never see that soft swap is good for you and your partner. You may not experience some other things like having sex in a playroom. Mm-hmm. Things like that you may never experience if your mind isn't open to experiencing it at some point.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and that's what we've found is going to these events and kind of wandering around and just seeing what's going on. And you'll meet different and interesting people, and they have their own particular play style or fantasies or kinks. And just watching how those people interact with each other, you learn new things. Mm-hmm. And you get a new perspective on the other ways that people have sex. Because, you're familiar with what you do, but there's a lot of people and a lot of different ways to have sex.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Huh. So cool. fascinating.
Yeah, we enjoy hearing people's stories and kind of how they've evolved, but also just their own unique perspective on how they've navigated all of the challenges. I mean, we've found the lifestyle to be very challenging, not only to the relationship. It sets your relationship up to be challenged. You have to have good communication. You have situations that you get involved in where you have to navigate that, and as a couple, and figure out, how does this affect us? How do we get through this? How do we move past this? What do you think about this? I mean, just the simple stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's great. It's opened our minds up to all kinds of stuff.
Oh, I have a question. It's a little off topic, but did you two have challenges in the beginning about, is this going to, or concerns about it impacting your relationship or changing your relationship, or disappointing another person if one individual didn't feel the same way? Did you have any of these types of things, or were you basically just on the same page?
I think one of the things that the lifestyle does that's unintentional is that it'll teach you things about yourself and your relationship that you've never pondered.
That's true.
Right? As men, I think most men, if you ask them, they would say that they're ready for a lifestyle experience right now, that they're ready to go. They think it's the best thing in the world. On the other hand, my response will be, well, let's see what you think about that when you see your wife having an amazing time with another man.
Right.
Then tell me how eager you are to get into this lifestyle. Now, if you're a man that can accept that and you appreciate that your significant other is having a wonderful time, then good, that you might be successful in the lifestyle. But if that boils your blood, you probably need to find another hobby.
Right.
Because you're going to consistently be challenged with situations that make you question your own morals, probably isn't the right word, but your own ability to be open.
Right.
Very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Very difficult. I think we've done a really good job at that.
Yeah.
I would want her to have an amazing time. More so as like a challenge. Okay, let's see how great of a time you have, because when I get you home, then we'll see what kind of time you're going to have in the best way possible.
Right.
So for me, it's like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
Let's set that
I'm always
bar.
up for the challenge.
Accepted.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that directly answered your question. But yeah, I think there's challenges, and you have to develop as a human being if you want to continue in this lifestyle.
Yes.
Well,
Go ahead.
I think there's always going to be maybe some sort of jealousy at first, but then when, you see your partner having an amazing time, but then you go home together and you have an amazing time with each other, and you're going home with that person. They don't want to marry that person that they're having the lifestyle experience with. They just want to have a good time.
Right. Exactly. And for me, for Ed, it's very easy for him to see me with somebody else.
I love it. I love watching her have a good time.
For me, it was more of a visual, I want to say, disturbance. Not really a disturbance, just anomaly. I've never seen him with somebody else. First of all, I've never seen sex live. So that in itself was different and unusual to see and exciting. But then to see Ed with somebody else was also somewhat challenging, because it's not something you see every day. So the visual was more of a challenge for me. It didn't feel like jealousy. It was just visually, I didn't know how to process that.
You were getting a different perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see that angle, if you will.
I didn't interpret it as a turn on initially. Certain perspectives, however, I did discover were a turn on. When I was like right up close, like like literally underneath Ed's legs, looking at the penetration, that was fucking hot. I was like, oh my God, because I don't get to see that perspective. And I'm like, that's what Ed gets to see. Holy shit, that's fucking hot.
Yep.
Right?
That's true.
I love it.
And
it's
I'm like,
the best angle. I mean, there's
okay,
so
I'm
great.
thinking I like this now. And so then some of my favorite positions are to be directly behind Ed with my arms wrapped around him while he's fucking another woman. And it feels like I'm fucking her and he's fucking her and I'm fucking her. We're both fucking her together.
Wow.
And
It's pretty
fucking hot. And I can look over his shoulder and I can see what Ed sees.
I did not realize this would be an educational podcast for us.
Yes, all the
We just
things we
learned
need to
something
try.
incredible.
Oh,
Today.
you need to try this.
Wow.
Yeah, so good.
We learn something new every day.
time.
I mean, it's just, there's always something new to learn.
It's like this playground. I'm like, ooh, let's try this. Ooh, let's try that. Ooh, let's try this.
I will say that even after 10 years, there's things that we still say to each other when we go to a party that we said 10 years ago. We need to talk to more people. We need to meet more people. We need to not be so picky. We need to
Open our minds.
Open our mind. Take the experience for what it is, not look for perfection in the other person. Because that's what the lifestyle is all about. It's all
Right.
about experiencing new things. So if you're going to be focused on, I only have sex with 5'2" blondes that are these dimensions, you know, we're born from this date to this date, and we're born in the country of X.
Right.
That's a horrible way, in my opinion, to experience the lifestyle.
Right.
You're much better off, and you're likely to be much more successful if you're open yourself to everybody and say, I don't know. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I'm interested in, but I'm certainly going to find out.
Right.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to like, is
Right.
another way to think of it.
Yeah, but so my point to that was, even after all this time, we still have to remind ourselves that. Don't be so picky. Talk to people.
Talk to people.
Get out there.
Yeah.
It's just a societal uneasiness that's hard to make go away. So we're constantly having to work on it, time and time again. Every year, every dance, we talk about it.
Yeah. I think we all get comfortable in our own patterns and this is the way we do things. These are the people that I'm attracted to. And if you don't push those boundaries, if you don't kind of realize that you're kind of biased in some ways, then you don't have those opportunities to experience those new things. You know, we've tried to make an effort, just like you, to have that pep talk at the beginning of an event, like, oh, we're going to go meet some new people. When we see a new couple that we've never met before, or that we still have this fear of the super hot couple that's going to reject us. Like, everybody has that fear of rejection. We've said we need to knock that off because you never know. They may be into us. So we should go talk to them. And so you're right. It's this like verbal, you were just talking about it today. Affirmation. It's a verbal affirmation that you have to go through before an event or when you're going into any of these situations to go, you know, I'm okay. I can do this, right? You got to do it.
Yeah, so at the last party, at least for me, this is my experience. We were working that party. It was a party where you could wear almost everything or nothing. We happened to be dressed a little bit in a Hawaiian style, so we were both literally half naked that night. And we were working the event, so we got to see nearly every person that walked through the door. Mm-hmm. And it was a bit of a rare occurrence, but this rather attractive lady, as soon as she walked up to the table, she's like, I want him, and pointed at me.
Oh.
Which to me was like, I didn't know what to do with that.
Right.
What do you mean? And she kept going on and on to where I was starting to get embarrassed about it.
Uh-huh.
But on the ride home, I'm almost, looking for a tall building to jump off because I thought, here's a woman who never met me.
And wants you.
And wanted me. What did I do? Didn't talk to her all night long.
Right. Ran away.
And I have been in this lifestyle for 10 years. I'm sitting at a podcast trying to give advice to new people, and I violated the very advice that I just gave about 20 minutes ago.
And that's why it's excellent advice. Because you've lived it, and you've experienced it, and you said, learn from my mistake.
Exactly.
And don't do that.
Right.
Be open. If somebody looks at you or winks at you, makes any sort of nod that they're at all interested, pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And the whole bucket list, I definitely have some fun preferences that I will like. And I shared with Adam and Belle some of the celebrity fucks that I like.
Oh, yeah.
However, what I really look for is what I find myself in. How do I want to say? I don't look for it. I'm just open to that vibe. So even though that person may not be my preference initially, physically, after I've engaged with them, I'm talking with them, and that confidence that they have comes out, and that sexuality starts to come, out of them, they start to be more appealing, right? They become more sexy. And I've found myself in situations, in full swap situations, where I said to Ed, oh my God, I never had sex with somebody like that before.
Right.
That was kind of fun. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, we've had some completely surprising situations happen like that, where it was like, that was much better than I expected it to go. That was actually really fun.
Those are the best nights.
Right?
Yeah, we've had those experiences.
And I love that about the lifestyle, that just like that open, you just don't know what's going to happen. Now that I've kind of embraced the whole, come what may, it's so much fun. So much fun.
Well, what I was going to say is what we need to remember, too, is that the woman that said, I want you, maybe she was just as nervous, and she had the guts, got the courage to put herself out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm a bad person for
You
letting
are
her
awful.
go.
You need to make up and
You
atone
are her
for
celebrity
that. So
fuck.
the next time you see her,
Oh, yeah. Halloween, buddy.
That's true. Atonement is a very important part of the lifestyle, and I plan on atoning.
you're going to atone the shit out of that.
In the spoken words of a good friend, I suck the shit out of that.
I knew that was going to come up tonight.
Sorry, last time.
For all those listening, that had nothing to do with what you think it sounded like.
Exactly. Quite the opposite, actually.
And that was not the best phrase for the rest of that night. Oh, man.
The rest of the weekend.
The rest of the weekend. Yeah, that was...
That was awesome.
We
Good
all have
times.
those moments.
Yeah.
So changes. What kind of changes have you seen over the last 10 years? Anything obvious? Or has it been pretty consistent?
Well, I'd say the people.
Yeah.
So we've had quite a turnover. Being in it 10 years, we're like the old people in the lifestyle now. There's a lot of younger people starting in their 20s. And it makes me wonder, is there something going on in their relationship? Are they just more open to experiences than maybe we were in our 20s?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've also heard that there is a higher turnaround. It seems to be like 18 months. Is that accurate?
That's the statistic that we've heard, is that most people stay in the lifestyle for about 18 months and then they rotate through, it's unfortunate. But, considering the dynamics that we've been talking about just in this podcast, with all of the challenges and the dynamics between relationships and between different groups of people and between two couples, I can see the challenge just overwhelming a lot of people, and that they're just not cut out for it. Or, they finally see their wife have sex with somebody else and they just, no, I can't handle that. I'm not into that.
Right.
Or vice versa,
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me that it's this 18-month window.
Right.
I think if you look around in our normal world, there's a bit of a sexual revolution going on. Right?
I would agree.
Look at Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. We are much more open sexually than we have been in a long time. And since I wasn't around in the 60s, I don't know how to correlate the two, but I will say that it feels like we're in a sexual revolution.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that we're getting younger and younger people in the lifestyle, just trying it out. Let's see what it's all about. I mean, I think we've all been at dances where we've been on the dance floor, and there's a lot of young people out there dancing and flirting, and probably there for the same reason we are, is because we just enjoy those kind of people more. Right. So even when we're with family or with our vanilla friends, there's something missing. It's missing because we can't have discussions like this.
Right.
Over dinner, we can't talk about swapping and things like that. And it's almost a more difficult conversation because now we have to think. Be careful what you say.
Right.
You're not with your friends. You're
got
not with
a
your
filter.
life. Yes. The filter needs to be fresh and new and big and able to filter a lot of stuff out. So we don't even gravitate to our old friends anymore.
Yeah.
We gravitate to our lifestyle friends, not because we're necessarily going to play with them. We just enjoy the atmosphere and the ability to have an open conversation or not have to worry about what you said, or not have to worry about rubbing against them as you cross in the kitchen. That's encouraged with our lifestyle friends. It doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
It's just a comfortable environment to be in, and we tend to gravitate towards that. So I think you're seeing a lot of younger people in the same way. Yeah. I think their normal lives are much more like our lifestyle lives. Just the way they've been raised, when they've been raised. I think they have much more open sexual conversations than we did at their age. So this is much more natural for them.
Yeah, that seems to be what we've observed as well.
I have a coworker that's much younger than I am, and I asked her what her and her boyfriend were doing over the weekend. She goes, "Oh, everyone calls him my boyfriend, but he's not my boyfriend." And I said, "Oh, okay, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know." And she's like, "Oh, no, that's fine. Everybody thinks that." And so I started to ask her about that, and she said, "Well, we've been friends for a really long time, and I was starting to have more intimate feelings or stronger feelings, romantic feelings towards him, and he's quickly said to me, 'Oh no, I'm not into that. I'm not going that down that road.'" And she's like, "Okay." So they continued to hang out, and then his perspective started to change, and he started to have more romantic feelings towards her. And then she's like, "I kind of like this arrangement. I like the status quo. We don't need to change anything." So they hang out, do things together. They're friends with benefits, but they're not beholden to one another. And I find that so refreshing. It's fascinating to me that they can have this arrangement without any definitions. It's just this
It's kind of an open-ended relationship.
open-ended arrangement that they have. And that was never something when I was growing up. It was one thing or the other. You were going steady because you had a boyfriend.
Or you were looking to go steady with somebody.
Right. You're single, you're going steady, you had a boyfriend, you're engaged, you're married. That's it.
Yep.
Those are the only things. I don't even know what she calls her relationship. I should ask her.
But I agree. I think they're more open to those types of relationships.
Yeah.
In my mind, between the four of us, if we were going to discuss a relationship like that, we're on the lifestyle, so it's not that far of a stretch.
Right.
How do you even start that discussion when you're in a vanilla relationship without the fear of somebody running away or saying a lot of bad things about you? How does that even develop? That's the part where I think younger folks nowadays that we're seeing lifestyle have an easier avenue of getting to that discussion. They can talk about those things because I think it's more readily available in their music, in the discussions they have. I mean, sex is prevalent. It's always been prevalent, but it's even more so now than anything we do.
I'm encouraged that there's less of a stigma about promiscuity, having sex. I'm actually encouraged by that, that people are not being labeled or shamed because they're sexual. I hope that trend continues, but we'll see.
I agree.
Yeah. So along the lines of trends, have you found in your experiences more straight men being comfortable with having bisexual experiences?
See, the question was on the board. I didn't think it was going to come up, but Phoebe went there.
I went there.
She went there.
We've seen it, and I'm curious if other people have.
So I don't think we've ever had a male bi experience, or even, well, I know we haven't.
She's like, I don't remember. Was there one?
Was it?
Or even witnessed one. We've never been anywhere near.
Interesting. So what's strange is we've been in the lifestyle for 6-7 years now. So not quite as long as you, but
Close.
Considering the 18-month time span, we're getting up there in years. And when we first got into it, it was a very taboo thing. It was basically
by women.
Don't list it on your profile.
Yep.
Don't talk about it. Nobody mentions it. And what's really interesting, and I'm not by the way, just throwing that out there, but but we've seen a number of men and run across a number of men who are now really comfortable expressing that. And it's almost strange, but we seem to be, I don't know, just traveling in circles where this is becoming more of a thing. So it's interesting that you haven't seen that because we've seen more of it.
So you say strange in the sense that we've seen more of it than they have?
Yes.
Or, yes.
Well, in other words,
Not
we go to the
strange
same
that it
parties.
happens.
We frequent the same events pretty regularly. We're in the same community. And yet we're seeing different things. So obviously it's, I guess wherever you are, it happens to be different.
I know.
Well, so we were just kind of looking at each other, and there's probably 3 or 4 men that are sort of in our group. Not in our group, but acquaintances.
Right.
Who we have discovered over the years have had these kind of experiences. It's not surprising, but it's unexpected.
Right.
And I think the first time we encountered that was that somebody told us about their preference in a very unusual way. And we didn't know what that meant at the time. Luckily, we did not have to experience it without not knowing what it meant. that makes sense.
Right.
But so, yeah, we have encountered men that we've discovered this about, and it was sort of like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Didn't know, but all right.
Good to know. All right.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, okay.
Have
More
you
information.
Have you had anyone ask you if it's okay if they have that experience with another man in your presence? Did they ask your permission or give you a clue in if you were uncomfortable?
We've never seen two bi males together.
Right. Yeah. We had that experience. We had two straight men.
They categorize themselves as straight.
They categorize themselves as straight, but they sometimes enjoy sucking cock, and they preferenced it. I know they didn't. I know they didn't categorize themselves as bi. So, for example, I categorize myself as bi just because it's easy, because I got over the whole definition thing. But I don't preference bi. I preference men. So on the site, I categorize myself as bi or bi-comfortable. But I prefer straight men. I'm obviously married to Ed, and I don't desire women. Do I think women are sexy? Yes. Do I want to have sex with all women? No. I also don't want to have sex with all men. But given the moment, if it's fun and sexy, and if it feels right, I'll go there. I may suck a breast. I may go have some pussy, but I haven't done that very often. But the times that I did, I was like, wow, that was kind of fucking cool. Never done that before, right? So these guys asked us if we were comfortable if they experienced that in front of us. And I said, oh, sure, I don't have a problem with that. And so two straight guys were sucking one was sucking the other guy's cock, and that was fucking hot. I'd never seen that before. Except on
I missed
porn.
the whole thing. I think I was in another room at the
Oh,
time.
yeah, Ed was downstairs. I was telepathically trying to call him upstairs because I didn't want
You
to be
gotta
like,
see this.
Ed, come upstairs.
I was busy.
We haven't encountered that. Mm-mm. Not at all. And never been approached in any way.
No.
I think part of when you're in the lifestyle for so long like we are or have been as yourselves, it's reputational. You know, people think that
Right.
they know something about you that they probably don't
Right.
for whatever reason. We talked about that today. There's a lot of reasons why people might say things about others that may or not be true. It's likely not malicious. It's just sort of the way we are as human beings.
Right. You
Right?
see someone, you kind of label them or categorize them or figure out, oh, where do they fit in?
Mm-hmm.
Or even just to gain your friendship. It's very typical in our work environment, our friend environment, to say, hey, Ed, you know that other guy you're talking to? Yeah, I know him. He's not a very good guy. You know what I mean, right? To kind of gain your trust and friendship.
Right.
Because you might say, oh, yeah, I think about the same. Or maybe you think, but you hadn't expressed it. Now that I've expressed it, now you and I are bonded.
Right.
Right.
You've been kind of, you've opened that door again, right?
Right.
And you're
Right.
now on the same page.
So I think in the lifestyle that happens a lot too, right? If you're a very attractive a couple, if I want to gain favor with you, what I might do is say, oh yeah, couple over there, you know, she's a little dirty, or she doesn't like to take showers. Whatever it is, obviously I'm making up a scenario in my attempt to bond with you, to have an equal footing about the way we see another couple.
Right.
Was I being truthful? Probably not. But I think that happens in the lifestyle also. I think the longer you're in it, people get ideas about who you are that are likely unfounded. Mm-hmm. So you have to put forth the effort to reach out to new people or to break away from some of those reputational issues that you're involved with.
Right, right, and that's that open-mindedness.
It's the open-mindedness.
That constantly expanding your circle so that you don't get stuck in those ruts, those patterns, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah, we've only encountered a little bit of that, and one of the encounters was someone's warning us about someone having an STD, and so we took note of that, but we didn't write off that other couple completely because they're nice people. We talked to them.
We'd have that conversation with them before we play with them.
Right.
That would be a direct conversation to have with somebody, and not
but we didn't
on some
discard
rumor or
them
hearsay.
for that reason, because they're nice, they're friendly, we enjoy their company, but we've never played with them, and if it ever came to that, that would definitely be a conversation. So I don't know. I haven't really run into a lot of this gossip that people talk about. Maybe we're just
you bring up a good
lucky.
point. So the couple that told you about the STD couple, we'll call them, or so you think they had an obligation to tell you, or do you think that they had an obligation not to tell you?
I think it was their obligation to tell me because they were also good friends. And so they said, hey, you might want to be aware of this couple.
But it does make you wonder, why express that? Like, why wouldn't that be a topic of the new couples? Like, if you're going to engage in sex with someone, why wouldn't you have that conversation then? Why let someone else have that conversation for you? So it's interesting.
Yeah, I understand the obligation. I guess what I would fear is people who think that they are obligated to tell others about situations that may or may not be true.
Right.
Right.
And may
that's
not
problematic.
And may not be ever relevant.
True.
Right. Because that individual that told me that had no idea how close we were to this other couple, if we had ever played with them or not played with them. So,
because we've been in the exact same situation where we were hanging out with a couple, everything was good time, and all of a sudden they felt the need to give us some information about another couple. And it was out of the blue.
Yeah, out of the blue.
Feels very strange.
It does feel strange.
Like, why are you telling
Yes,
me this?
yes. Goes back to what we just talked about just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
It's like, are you trying to gain my favor by suggesting that this other couple here's got a problem that I should stay away from?
Gotcha.
Whether it's true or not.
Gotcha.
But that to me, and that actually pushed the couple with the information away.
Yeah.
I felt like if you're willing to say that about somebody,
right.
One, I don't know you. I've known you for all of 2 hours, 3 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know that other couple very well, but boy, you were sure anxious to tell me about something ultra personal.
Yeah.
Right.
The last thing I want you to do
is personal things about me.
Yes.
Exactly. You hit the nail squarely on the head.
Because if you're talking, yeah, no, it's kind of disturbing. And
yes.
Obviously we didn't do anything with that information, and it was one of those like, okay, that's
thank you for sharing.
Interesting. I'm not sure why you're telling us that, but
yeah,
okay.
What do you think, Belle?
Well, how would the other couple know is what I want to know. Do they have the STD also?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Good question. You never know. But that's why you have that conversation with your sex partners before you have sex with them.
Right.
Yep.
And if that's a thing, then, and obviously if you have something, you should probably disclose that before you have sex with another couple. And
it's an important discussion because I've heard in the past that there are certain diseases or situations that are just accepted because of our lifestyle. Or the way it was presented to me was sort of like, hey,
Oh, everybody has that.
yeah, I mean, this is a sex club, and in a sex club, you should expect to have X, which was disturbing.
Yeah, that is disturbing.
That was the thought.
Wow.
That something like
What's
was it
X?
herpes?
Herpes?
What was the discussion that we were involved in? Was it herpes?
Or HPV.
HPV.
It was something a little different than that.
I don't recall.
BV?
It may have been herpes.
All these acronyms.
Yeah, BV.
But I have heard that about HPV before.
Yeah.
That is, it's very common. It's very asymptomatic, and so it's hard to know. But yeah, that's kind of disturbing to think.
I'm just not comfortable with the idea that, hey, you're in a sex club, you should expect to have X, and you shouldn't be overly concerned when others do also.
Right.
That's where you got to throw up the timeout sign a little bit. It's like, well,
You fly, you should expect that the plane goes down.
I've flown a lot. Plane's never gone down.
I'm not thinking that way, please.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not okay, I don't think.
No, that's not okay.
Let's move on to something more positive.
I don't know. Trends. I don't know if that's necessarily positive, but trends, have you seen any things that have changed over the years with how people respect one another, the type of diversity? We already talked about age. Have you seen a change in drug use, types of drugs, presence of singles?
Well, I think at the dances it's pretty well controlled as far as single males go. Mm-hmm. But I find that there's a lot on the site.
Yeah.
Trying to get the attention of maybe a single female, maybe a couple, maybe just the wife.
Right.
Drug use, I don't really see it at the parties. Mm-hmm. Everybody's drinking and having a good time, but I don't see anybody, not as far as the big parties, maybe a house party. Mm-hmm. There's more drug use.
Like what type of drug use?
Molly.
Yeah.
Marijuana.
Right.
Things like that. Nothing, right. I've never seen cocaine or anything harder than that.
Yeah.
That probably goes more towards the group of people that we associate with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we categorize drugs two different ways. So for me, or us at least, anything you can buy at a store is not what we would consider a drug, quote
right.
unquote, a drug.
Right.
Marijuana, alcohol, I would argue that it's probably much safer to be high than it is drunk. So I don't see marijuana as being a drug, or at least an illicit drug that should be stayed away from. The other ones that you don't buy in a store, you buy on the street, are a little bit different. And I think we have systematically shied away from any of that use or being around anybody that uses it. I think I heard Phoebe say something not long ago that really struck a chord. And it was like something to the extent, I think you said, it's a great experience for them, but it's not a great experience for me.
Right.
So why should I be involved with somebody who might be on X, on Molly, on Coke when I'm not, and I don't get that fantastic experience? And I would agree with you. Mm-hmm. I think that is taking things to a level where both people need to be engaged or involved in that. If one party is and the other isn't, I think that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Because
you don't know how the person who's on those drugs is going to respond to certain situations.
Exactly.
So it can be tough.
Exactly. And they also tend to, depending on the drug, tend to be very self-centered with that experience. So they're not paying attention to my experience or my cues. So I might as well just be a blow-up doll, honestly, because they're not paying attention. So what's the point?
I agree with you.
Right.
I agree with you. And even to some extent on alcohol and marijuana, it may take you to a place where you don't even realize you're there, and you're just committing the act sort of haphazardly. And I agree. Unless both people are engaged, talked about it, okay with it, having the same experience, then it loses it for one person.
Right. Yeah, because I agree. Because it's no fun being sober at a party where everyone's drinking. You've done that. Everyone's done that. It's pretty boring. So it would be way more exciting to be both experiencing pot together or together or whatever kind of experience that you want to have together.
I think trend-wise, though, I think we've noticed more house parties, more smaller groups. People are using the dances to meet people so that they can develop their own group at their house, somebody else's house. Whereas when we started, the dance was the party.
Right.
Gotcha.
It wasn't an avenue to find people to go build another party someplace else. It was it. It was like Cheers. We all knew each other. We all expected to see each other. And frankly, we were disappointed when maybe somebody didn't show up that you were used to seeing. So for us, that's why dances were once a month, because it's where everybody went to do their lifestyle stuff.
Gotcha.
But I think nowadays it's trending more towards smaller house parties where people can be more intimate, and not so much go to the big dances.
Right. Interesting. I haven't found those smaller, intimate house parties.
We haven't either, but again, it goes back to the effort we probably should put into it.
Yeah. Actually, we did one time, but we left. The one up in... up north. You remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah, too many parties.
All right. So diversity, respect. Has everyone pretty much been respectful? Has that changed?
I don't think it's changed. I think everybody's always been respectful. I can't think of a time that somebody wasn't. You know,
Whenever there was a time, it was always a one-off. Somebody had a little too much to drink at a party.
Right.
Certain circumstances dictated that, but I don't think that you have the same person acting up over and over and over again so that they become a problem.
Yeah.
I think we used to see that 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, but I think that's diminished.
Maybe that's a product of vetting from the
I think it's
host.
A socially self-correcting problem too, because people who act out in parties tend to not get invited back, and people don't. It's a society. There's this group. We all get together and we kind of know each other, and second, third party, and people talk. You get to know. It's like a small town. Everybody knows what everybody else is doing to some level.
For better, for worse.
For better, for worse.
All right, Ed. You got anything else? Any other questions?
No. I think that's pretty good.
Adam Belle, you have anything else to add?
I feel like we could talk on this subject
forever.
Days.
I know.
For years.
If you took the microphone away, we'd still be having this same discussion.
Heck, when we were on the houseboat, we talked for 4 days straight about this. It's like that.
So maybe I will say one thing.
Dun, dun, dun.
I met someone at a club recently, and I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, it's good to see you again." And he reached out his hand and he said, "Hi, who are you?" And I said, "This is Phoebe." And he's like, "Oh, nice to meet you, Phoebe." I slept with the guy twice. Mind you, this is the second person I'm shoving my hand at Adam that I've had sex with on E. I wasn't part of the whole E experience, so I didn't have that same experience. And he didn't remember me. And I was so annoyed and so pissed for days.
And I can tell everyone who's listening, it is a memorable experience to have sex with Phoebe.
I'm looking at Phoebe, and I would agree with you.
There's plenty to remember.
But don't you think it's sad for you that he didn't remember you, but it's sad for him too,
for him.
because
Oh, yeah.
he didn't. What is he getting out of this if he can't even remember?
Absolutely.
Like, the years that I've been aware of this guy being in the lifestyle, and I'm sure consistently doing his lifestyle the way he does,
How many women
what
does he
kind of
not remember
memories do you
having
have
sex?
of all those experiences?
I can't even fathom the point of having sex with someone if you're not going to remember having sex with them.
It's
That's
like,
the whole fun of it.
Why bother?
exactly.
You might as well just stay home and sit on your couch.
I know.
I don't remember having sex. Then why are you having sex?
Yeah.
That's true.
It's time to find a tall building so you won't survive the fall.
Something. I like to remember. I want to remember every detail.
I count on remembering.
I look forward to remembering.
I know. Well, and that's part of the fun, is recounting the details
With your partner.
afterwards. Exactly.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. We love that.
That part of that whole
For the next-
experience.
24, 48, 72, week 2.
Yes.
Wait, 7 years later to talk about those first experiences. Because they stick with you. There's so many great memories that we have of all of these events, of these parties, these experiences, these amazing sexual encounters.
Right.
Who wouldn't want to remember that?
I know.
It's
So let me counter that by just saying that for the people who are new to the lifestyle, it's also important to forget about those experiences too at some point. Don't get so in love with those new experiences. All they are is new.
right.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all that makes them exciting. But I think we have talked to and found other couples' lifestyle where one or the other never forgot about their experience.
Oh, yeah.
And that led them down a difficult road.
Yes.
And so I think everyone listening gets the point. The point is it's going to be amazing. Make sure that you're lucid enough to remember it because you're going to want to tell somebody, if not
Right.
just yourself, within a couple days afterwards. But also remember to forget about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a lovely spouse at home who loves you, who is the best sex you're ever going to have because of the internal connection.
Yeah.
That's what you need to remember.
Absolutely.
That's the important part.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fun to enjoy the vacations, the fun times that you did
Yes.
away from home, but remember that you can have good times at home too, and you've got to hold on to those as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
That was very well said.
it was.
Well, that is a perfect way to wrap this up.
Absolutely. Let's go have sex.
Okay.
Perspective is valuable when exploring in the swinger arena, and everyone's journey and experience will be a different level of exploration and enrichment. A big thanks to Adam and Belle for sharing after we beat them over the head and drag them back to our lair.
Ta-ta! Thank you so much for coming.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes,
really.
thank you.
Yeah, this is fun.
I had a lot of fun.
And thank you for taking our cherry on this first interview. It's delightful.
Glad to.
All right.
This is Ed.
This is Phoebe.
This is Adam.
This is Belle.
Saying thanks for listening, thanks for learning. Now go out there and get some.
Woo!
Yay.
Before you turn off our podcast to take care of all the vanilla things pulling you away, please reach out and give us a review. I am the first to admit that it is much easier to give a 5-star rating, which we appreciate. But if you could take 43 seconds to type a review, we would love it. If you want to share a personal story, ask us questions, or share your comments, please contact us at swingeruniversity@gmail.com or tweet us at swingerupodcast.